When perfect control shatters, Blake Harrison's eyes opened slowly, immediately regretting the decision. Sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse bedroom like an accusation. His head throbbed with each heartbeat, a reminder that control, his most prized possession, had slipped through his fingers the night before. He pressed his palms against his temples, ouch, trying to massage away the pounding. The Egyptian cotton sheets felt too soft, the room too bright, and something was very, very wrong. Then he felt it. The warmth beside him, the gentle rhythm of breathing that wasn't his own. Blake turned his head, moving carefully, as if sudden movement might shatter reality itself. His breath caught in his throat. Penny Brooks lay curled beside him, her auburn hair spread across his pillow like spilled wine. She wore one of his white dress shirts, the fabric sliding off one shoulder as she slept. Her face, usually animated with nervous energy and quick smiles, looked peaceful in sleep. His assistant, his wonderfully awkward, incredibly competent, perpetually apologetic assistant, was in his bed. The panic sets in Blake's mind raced, trying to grab hold of memories from the previous night. The annual company gala. Champagne towers. Speeches about innovation and market dominance. Then fragments, disconnected pieces that didn't quite fit together. Penny laughing at something he said. The warmth of her hand in his. Music playing. Dancing. Lots of dancing. Her eyes looking up at him with something more than professional courtesy. Then nothing. A black void where memory should be. He tried to sit up, but the room tilted dangerously. Blake gripped the edge of the mattress, willing the world to stop spinning. He managed to swing his legs over the side of the bed, relieved to find he was at least wearing boxer briefs. Beside him, Penny stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, those warm brown eyes that always seemed too honest for the corporate world. For a moment, she smiled at him, soft and sleepy and unguarded. Then reality crashed down on her like a wave. The awkward awakening, her eyes went wide. She gasped, clutching the sheet to her chest, even though she was fully covered by his shirt. Her face flushed deep red, spreading from her cheeks down her neck. "Oh my goodness," she whispered, voice hoarse. "Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness." Blake found his voice, though it came out rougher than intended. Penny. She sat bolt upright, immediately regretted it based on her wince, and looked around his bedroom as if seeing it for the first time. "Mr. Harrison, I am so sorry. I don't know what happened. I don't know how I got here. I don't remember anything after midnight, and I never drink because when I drink, I become even more of a disaster than I normally am. Which, because I literally tripped over my own feet 3 times yesterday. And now, I'm in your bed and wearing your shirt, and this is a nightmare. This is an actual nightmare." She spoke so fast the words tumbled over each other, her hands gesturing wildly. Classic Penny, even in crisis. "Stop," Blake said, holding up one hand. His head couldn't handle the rapid-fire panic. "Just stop for a second. Let me think." Penny pressed her lips together, nodding rapidly. Her eyes darted around the room, landing on the trail of clothing leading from the door to the bed. Her black cocktail dress. His jacket. Her heels, one near the nightstand, one halfway across the room. His tie draped over a chair like a silk snake. "No," she breathed. "Oh, no, no, no." Searching for clues, Blake stood carefully, grabbing his phone from the nightstand. Dead. Of course, it was dead. He walked to the dresser, found the charger, and plugged it in. While they waited for it to power up, he pulled on the sweatpants and t-shirt he'd left on his chair. "Bathroom," Penny said suddenly. "Can I use your bathroom?" Of course. He scrambled out of bed, nearly tripping over the sheet, and rushed to the ensuite. Blake heard the door lock, then the sound of running water. He sat on the edge of the bed, head in his hands, trying desperately to remember. The gala had been important. Investors from Tokyo, potential partners from 3 continents, every major player in the tech industry watching his company. He'd prepared for weeks, and apparently lost control so completely that he'd brought his assistant home and couldn't even remember doing it. His phone buzzed to life. Notifications flooded the screen. Missed calls from Tyler. Messages from colleagues. Then he saw it. A message from Jamie Rodriguez, his head of security, sent at 2 in the morning. "Boss, you and Penny left together. Looked pretty cozy." Just FYI, Blake's stomach dropped. He opened his photo gallery with shaking hands, praying there wouldn't be evidence. But there was a selfie from last night. Penny was laughing, her head thrown back, hair wild and beautiful, and Blake was looking at her with an expression he'd never seen on his own face before. Open, vulnerable, happy. In a way that had nothing to do with quarterly earnings or market share. His hand was on her waist, pulling her close. They looked like a couple. They looked like people in love. The bathroom confession, the bathroom door opened. Penny emerged, her face scrubbed clean of makeup, hair pulled back. She'd splashed water on her face, but her eyes were still redrimmed. "I called a car," she said quietly. "It'll be here in 10 minutes. I should go." "This is so inappropriate. I'm so sorry. I'll submit my resignation first thing Monday morning." "What?" "No," Blake said, standing. "Penny, you're not resigning." "I slept with my boss," she said, voice breaking. "Or at least I think I did. I woke up in your bed, Mr. Harrison. I can't just pretend this didn't happen and show up Monday with your coffee order." "We don't know what happened," he said. "Neither of us remembers. We were drunk. Maybe nothing happened." She gestured at the clothing trail at the bed, at herself in his shirt. "Does this look like nothing?" Blake ran his hand through his hair, frustrated and confused and more scared than he'd been in years. "I don't know. But I know you're the best assistant I've ever had. You're brilliant at your job, Penny. You can't throw that away because of one night we don't even remember." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Everyone will know. They probably already know. Do you know how many people have phones? How many of them were at that party? By Monday morning, this will be the hottest gossip in the entire company." She was right. Blake knew she was right. In the tech world, in the business circles he moved in, this kind of scandal spread like wildfire. His phone buzzed. A message from Tyler. "Dude, check the company's social feed. You and your assistant are trending." Evidence mounts Blake. Opened the internal company social platform with a sense of dread. And there they were. Multiple posts from last night. Photos tagged with his name and Penny's. Blake and Penny dancing. Her arms around his neck, his hands on her waist. Looking at each other like they were the only people in the room. Blake and Penny by the champagne fountain. Laughing at something private. Blake and Penny on the balcony. His jacket wrapped around her shoulders, her hand in his, and a video. Someone had taken a video. Blake pressed play with shaking hands. The video showed them slow dancing to a romantic song. They swayed together, talking quietly. Then Penny said something. Blake smiled wider than he'd smiled in years. And he leaned down and kissed her. It was gentle, tender. The kiss of someone who'd been thinking about it for a very long time. The video ended with them pulling apart. Foreheads touching, both smiling, like they'd discovered something precious. Blake's heart hammered. He showed the phone to Penny. She watched in silence, one hand covering her mouth. When it ended, she looked up at him with wet eyes. "I don't remember that," she whispered. "But Blake, we look happy." It was the first time she'd ever called him by his first name. The decision point, Blake set the phone down carefully. "Penny, I need to be honest with you about something." She waited, arms wrapped around herself. "I don't remember last night clearly," he said slowly. "But I remember Friday morning, when you brought me coffee before the pre-gala meeting. You wore that blue dress you always wear when you're nervous about something. You'd gotten a new haircut, and I noticed, but didn't say anything because I'm an idiot who doesn't know how to give compliments without sounding like he's evaluating quarterly performance. Despite everything." She almost smiled. "I remember thinking you looked beautiful," Blake continued, "and then immediately hating myself for thinking it because you're my assistant and I'm your boss, and those thoughts are inappropriate and unprofessional." Penny stared at him. "Remember every morning for the past year. Watching you walk into my office with that bright smile and thinking how you make even the worst days bearable," he said. "I remember being jealous when you mentioned going on dates. I remember last month when you stayed late to help me prepare for the investor presentation. And we ordered takeout, and you fell asleep on my office couch. I put my jacket over you like a blanket and watched you sleep for 5 minutes before I woke you up. And I thought about how much I wanted to know what it would be like to have that every day. Blake, she breathed. So maybe I don't remember last night, he said. But drunk Blake apparently had the courage to do what sober Blake has been too afraid to do for months. He told you the truth. And based on that video, you told him the truth back. Penny's phone buzzed. She looked at it, and her face went pale. "Is Rachel from HR?" she said. "She wants to see both of us Monday morning at 8. She knows." They stood in his bedroom, the morning sun streaming through the windows, surrounded by evidence of a night neither could fully remember, but both were about to pay for. Blake reached out and took Penny's hand. "We face it together," he said. "We figure out what happened. We figure out what we want. And we deal with whatever comes next. Together." Penny looked at their joined hands, then up at his face. "You're really not firing me?" "Never," Blake said firmly. "And Penny, I need you to know something. Whatever happened last night, whatever happens next, I don't regret this. I don't regret you being here. I just regret not remembering it." Her car notification pinged. 10 minutes had passed. "I should still go," she said softly. "We both need time to think. And to figure out our story before Monday, will you come back?" Blake asked. "This afternoon? We can go through everything, talk to people who were there, piece together what actually happened." Penny nodded. "Your place or mine?" "Yours," Blake said. "I want to see where you live. I want to know more about you, Penny Brooks. The real you, not just my incredibly efficient assistant." She squeezed his hand once, then let go. "Okay, 2 o'clock. I'll text you my address." Blake walked her to the door, where she slipped on her heels and picked up her small clutch purse. At the threshold, she turned back. "Blake, for what it's worth, I think drunk me had pretty good taste." Then she was gone, leaving him alone with his pounding headache, his racing thoughts, and the terrifying realization that his perfectly controlled life had just become beautifully, messily complicated. Finding courage in daylight, Blake stood in the shower for 20 minutes, letting scalding water pound against his shoulders. The physical discomfort helped clear his mind, though nothing could wash away the confusion of the morning. He'd built a billion-dollar company on logic, precision, and control. Yet one night with Penny Brooks had shattered all three. He dressed carefully in jeans and a simple black sweater, casual clothes that felt foreign on a Saturday. Usually, weekends meant catching up on work in sweatpants, reviewing reports, strategizing for the upcoming week. Now he was getting ready to visit his assistant's apartment, to uncover truths about a night he couldn't remember with a woman he was terrified to want. His phone rang. Tyler's name flashed across the screen. "Before you start," Blake said, answering, "Yes, I know it looks bad. Yes, I know people are talking. No, I don't remember what happened." Tyler's laugh crackled through the speaker. "Relax, big brother. I'm not calling to lecture you. I'm calling because I was there last night, and contrary to what you might think, I actually paid attention." Blake's grip tightened on the phone. "What did you see?" "Everything," Tyler said. And Blake, it was about damn time. A brother's perspective, Tyler had always been the opposite of Blake, where Blake was rigid and calculating. Tyler was spontaneous and emotional. Their mother used to joke that Blake got all the discipline genes, while Tyler got all the joy. But Tyler's observations were usually sharper than people gave him credit for. "You want the play-by-play?" Tyler asked. Blake sat heavily on his couch. "Please." "Okay, so the gala started at 7. You did your speech? Very impressive, very CEO-ish. Penny was standing near the back, and I swear, Blake, she was watching you like you hung the moon. When you made that joke about disrupting the market, everyone else gave polite chuckles. She laughed like it was the funniest thing she'd ever heard." Blake remembered Penny's laugh. It was one of his favorite sounds, genuine and unguarded. "Around 8:30, I saw this guy approach her," Tyler continued. "Tall, overly confident, definitely hitting on her." She looked uncomfortable. "You noticed from across the room?" I watched you excuse yourself from a conversation with those Japanese investors and cross the entire ballroom. You put your hand on her back and told the guy she was needed for an urgent matter. Blake closed his eyes, a fragment of memory surfacing. Penny's grateful smile. The relief in her eyes. After that, you didn't really leave her side, Tyler said. You introduced her to people as your indispensable right hand. She glowed every time you complimented her. Around 10, you both disappeared to the balcony. You were gone for almost an hour. Blake's heart raced. And when you came back, everything had changed. You were holding hands? She had your jacket. You both looked like you'd just discovered fire or something equally groundbreaking. Then you danced. A lot. And Blake, I've never seen you dance like that. You looked happy? The word hung in the air. Happy? Such a simple word. Yet it felt foreign when applied to himself. What time did we leave? Blake asked. Around midnight. Jamie brought your car around? Penny was leaning against you. You had your arm around her waist. You opened the car door for her like she was made of glass. It was actually really sweet, in a completely scandalous sort of way. Blake rubbed his face. Tyler, I don't remember any of this. Maybe that's okay, his brother said gently. Maybe drunk you knew what sober you was, too scared to admit that you have feelings for her. Real feelings. She's my assistant. She's a person, Blake. A wonderful person who clearly cares about you. And you care about her. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Penny's sanctuary at 2 o'clock. Blake stood outside Penny's apartment building in a neighborhood he'd never visited. It was nothing like his sterile downtown penthouse. Tree-lined streets, small cafes, a bookstore on the corner. The kind of place where people actually lived. Not just existed between business meetings, he climbed to the 3rd floor and knocked on apartment. 3C, his heart hammered harder than it should have. For a simple visit, Penny opened the door wearing soft gray yoga pants and an oversized burgundy sweater. Her hair was down, wavy and natural, no makeup. She looked younger, softer, and so beautiful it made his chest ache. Hi, she said quietly. Hi. Her apartment was everything his wasn't. Warm, lived in, plants everywhere, thriving in the afternoon sunlight. Bookshelves crammed with novels and biographies. Framed photos of friends and family. A worn couch with colorful throw pillows. Art on the walls that looked like it came from local artists, not high-end galleries.
Yes.
I love your place, Blake said, meaning it. Penny smiled nervously. It's small, but it's mine. Coffee? I made a full pot. I figured we'd need it, please. She moved to the small kitchen, while Blake stood awkwardly in the living room, unsure where to sit. This was Penny's world, her private space, and he felt like an intruder. You can sit anywhere, she called from the kitchen. The couch is most comfortable. Blake sat, sinking into cushions that smelled faintly of lavender. Penny returned with 2 mugs, handing him one before settling on the opposite end of the couch, tucking her feet under her. I've been making calls, she said. Talking to people who were at the gala. My best friend Hannah was there. She told me some things. Tyler called me too, Blake admitted. He saw us on the balcony. Penny took a shaky breath. Hannah said she found me near the champagne fountain around 9. I was upset because my ex showed up with his new girlfriend. Apparently, they looked very happy together, and he made some comment about how he'd upgraded to someone with real ambition. Anger flared in Blake's chest. He said that to you? I don't remember it, but Hannah said yes. She said I was trying not to cry when you appeared out of nowhere. You asked if I was okay, and when I didn't answer, you just took my hand and led me away. You told me we needed to discuss an urgent investor situation, but really, you were just getting me away from him. Blake did remember that. The flash of protectiveness he'd felt, seeing Penny's eyes glistening with unshed tears. The overwhelming need to fix whatever had hurt her. We went to the balcony, Penny continued. Hannah said we were gone for a long time. When we came back, I told her something happened. Something important. What did you tell her? Penny met his eyes. I told her I finally understood what it felt like to be seen. Really seen? I said you talked about your mother, about building the company in her memory, about how sometimes success feels lonely. And I told you about my family, about my dad's expectations, about feeling like I always have to prove I'm more than the clumsy girl who trips over air. Blake's throat tightened. He could almost hear those words, feel the intimacy of that conversation. Hannah asked if I knew what I was doing, Penny said softly. She reminded me, you're my boss, that this could end badly. And I told her I'd never been more certain of anything in my life. The photographs. Penny pulled out her phone with trembling hands. People have been sending me photos all morning. Some are sweet, some are less so, but they tell a story. She swiped through images, holding the phone so Blake could see. Each photo was another piece of the puzzle, Blake and Penny talking intently. His head bent toward hers like her words were sacred, Blake's hand on the small of her back as they navigated. Through the crowd, Penny laughing at something. Blake, watching her with unguarded affection. Then the balcony photos. Someone had taken them from inside through the glass. Blake's jacket around Penny's shoulders, their hands intertwined, foreheads touching as they talked, and then the kiss. Not the video kiss, but a still photo that captured the moment right before their lips met. The anticipation, the longing, the inevitable pull between them. We look like we're in love, Penny whispered. Blake couldn't disagree. The evidence was overwhelming. There's one more, she said hesitantly. She swiped to a photo that made Blake's blood run cold. They were pressed against a wall in what looked like a hallway. Blake's hands cupped Penny's face. Her legs were wrapped around his waist. The passion was undeniable. The image so intimate, it felt wrong to look at it. Someone sent this anonymously, Penny said, with a message saying I should be careful, that sleeping my way to the top always backfires. Blake's jaw clenched. Who sent it? I don't know. The number was blocked. But Blake, people think I did this for career advancement. They think I manipulated you. That's ridiculous. Is it? Her voice cracked. I'm your assistant. You're a billionaire CEO. How does this look from the outside? Reconstructing the night, Blake took her hand, the gesture feeling natural now. Then we make them understand the truth. But first, we need to know it ourselves. Tell me everything you remember. Penny closed her eyes, concentrating. I remember dancing with you. Multiple times? You're actually a good dancer, which surprised me. You told me you took ballroom lessons as a teenager because your mother insisted. Memory flickered. His mother in her garden, telling him that a gentleman should know how to lead a lady. The memory of Penny in his arms, moving in perfect rhythm. I remember the balcony, Penny continued. We talked about everything. You've told me about the pressure of living up to expectations. It's about how your father wanted you to join his law firm, but you chose technology instead. How he still doesn't quite approve, even though you're successful beyond measure. Blake had never told anyone that. Not Tyler, not his therapist. Only Penny. You asked about my dreams, she said. Not my career goals, but my real dreams. I told you I want to write a book someday. You didn't laugh. You said you'd read anything I wrote. I meant it, Blake said. Penny opened her eyes. I told you I was falling for you. Right there on that balcony, I said it out loud. I expected you to pull away, to remind me of professional boundaries. But you didn't. You said you'd been falling for me since the day I reorganized your entire filing system and color-coded your calendar without being asked. Blake laughed softly. That was 3 weeks after you started. I thought you were insane. Then I realized you were brilliant. Gently, like you were asking permission. And I kissed you back like I'd been waiting my whole life for it. The memory bloomed fully in Blake's mind. The taste of champagne on her lips, the softness of her sigh. The way she melted against him like she'd finally come home. After that, everything gets fuzzy, Penny admitted. I remember getting into your car. Jamie, driving us. You holding my hand in the back seat. Then walking into your building, the elevator, kissing you against the wall while we waited for your floor. I remember making you tea, Blake said suddenly. The memory surfaced, clear and vivid. You were cold. I gave you my shirt because your dress had thin straps. We sat on my couch and kept talking. About everything. About nothing. I told you about my first failed startup. You told me about the time you accidentally sent a love letter to your 7th grade teacher instead of your crush. Penny groaned. Oh God, you remember that story? You made me laugh so hard I cried, Blake said. I can't remember the last time I laughed like that. The anonymous message Blake's phone buzzed. An unknown number. He opened the message and his expression darkened. It was another photo from last night. Blake and Penny in his hallway, clearly heading toward his bedroom. The message read, "Interesting choices for a CEO who preaches professionalism. Wonder what the board would think. Maybe some damage control is needed before Monday. I'm available to help keep this quiet for a price. Someone's trying to blackmail me," Blake said, showing Penny the message. Her face went pale. Oh God, this keeps getting worse. No, Blake said firmly. This gives us leverage. Whoever this is just committed a crime. And they clearly don't know who they're dealing with. He forwarded the message to Jamie with a brief note. Trace this. Find out who sent it. I want a name by tonight. Blake, what if they send those photos to the media? To the board? Then they do, Blake said. Penny, I'm not going to let some coward with a phone camera dictate my life. Or yours. But your reputation will survive, he interrupted. I built this company from nothing. I've weathered hostile takeovers, market crashes, and competitors who tried to destroy me. I can handle some gossip about my personal life. Penny stared at him. You're serious. Completely. Blake moved closer to her on the couch. Penny, I need you to understand something. What happened last night? Whatever the specifics, it wasn't a drunken mistake. It was us finally being honest about what we've both been feeling. You don't even remember most of it, she protested weakly. I remember enough. And what I don't remember, I'm feeling right now. He took her face in his hands, the gesture mirroring the photo from the hallway. I'm feeling it completely sober. Completely aware. And completely terrified, but not because I regret anything. Because I'm afraid you'll walk away. Tears spilled down her cheeks. How can I not walk away? Everyone will say, I slept with you for career advancement. Your reputation will suffer. The company could be affected. Then I'll handle it, Blake said. We'll handle it. Together. You keep saying that word. Together. But Blake, we're not together. You're my boss. I'm your assistant. Last night was supposed to be a mistake we pretend never happened. Blake leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. Their lips met softly, tentatively. Nothing like the passionate photos from the gala. This was gentle, questioning real. When they parted, Blake whispered, Does that feel like something we should pretend never happened? Penny's hands fisted in his sweater. No, it feels like something that's going to break my heart. Because Monday morning, we have to walk into that HR meeting and face reality. We have to deal with Rachel Kim, who's going to lay out all the reasons this can't work. We have to handle the gossip, the judgment, the implications for both our careers. And at the end of it, I'll probably have to leave. Because that's how these stories always end. The choice ahead, Blake's phone rang. Jamie, boss, I traced that message. You're not going to like this. Tell me. What? It came from inside your company. Someone who works for you. I'm still narrowing down the exact person, but I should have a name within the hour. Blake's expression hardened. When you find them, I want them in my office first thing Monday morning. Before the HR meeting, you got it. After hanging up, Blake turned back to Penny. Someone we work with is trying to extort me. That means this isn't just about us anymore. It's about protecting the company and everyone who works there. What are you going to do? Go to war if I have to, Blake said simply. But Penny, I need to know something first. If the circumstances were different, if I wasn't your boss and you weren't my assistant, would you want this? Would you want us? Penny didn't hesitate. Yes, God, yes. Blake, you make me feel capable and cherished at the same time. You see the person I am beneath the nervous jokes and clumsy moments. You make me want to be braver, and be brave with me, Blake said. Walk into that meeting Monday morning and tell them the truth. That we have feelings for each other. That we're not sure where this is going, but we want the chance to find out. that we'll follow whatever protocols they require, maintain whatever boundaries they set, but we're not pretending this didn't happen. They'll make me transfer departments. Or worse, they'll make one of us leave. Maybe, Blake acknowledged. But I'd rather fight for something real than pretend it doesn't exist. Wouldn't you? Penny wiped her tears, a small smile forming. When did you become such a romantic? Apparently around midnight last night, Blake said with a slight grin. I'm still catching up. We spent the rest of the afternoon talking, filling in the gaps of their shared history. Penny told him about the first day she interviewed, how intimidated she'd been by his reputation, but intrigued by his passion for innovation. Blake admitted he'd almost not hired her because she'd spilled coffee during the interview. But her brilliant response to his toughest question had changed his mind. As evening fell, Blake's phone buzzed with another message from Jamie. Got a name? It's Derek Walsh from accounting. Apparently, he's been upset about being passed over for a promotion. Thought he could use this to negotiate. Blake showed Penny the message. Problem solved. Walsh will be dealt with, and those photos won't go anywhere. But Penny's expression remained troubled. That doesn't solve Monday, Blake. That doesn't solve us. He pulled her close, breathing in the scent of her shampoo. No, but at least we'll face it together. And Penny, whatever happens, I need you to know something. You've already changed my life. Before you, I was building an empire, but living in a prison. You reminded me what it feels like to actually be alive. That's the second most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me. What's the first? Penny smiled through fresh tears. Apparently drunk, you told me last night that I was the best decision you never knew you were making. According to Hannah, it was very swoon-worthy. Blake laughed, the sound surprising him. Drunk me has a way with words. Sober you isn't doing too badly either. They ordered takeout and watched the sunset from her small balcony, talking about everything except Monday morning. For a few hours, they were just Blake and Penny. Two people discovering each other without job titles or corporate hierarchies. When Blake finally left around midnight, he kissed her goodbye at her door. Slow and sweet and full of promise. I'll see you Monday, he said. Together, Penny whispered. Together. Monday morning reckoning. Blake arrived at the office at 6:30 Monday morning. 2 hours before the scheduled HR meeting, the building was quiet, almost peaceful in the pre-dawn darkness. He'd barely slept, spending most of Sunday strategizing with his lawyers and reviewing company policy on workplace relationships. The answer was clear, but complicated. There was no explicit rule against executives dating employees, but there were strict protocols about disclosure, reporting structures, and conflict of interest. He and Penny would have to navigate a minefield of corporate policy while dealing with personal scrutiny. His office felt different as he settled. Right behind his desk, the space where Penny usually sat, just outside his door, seemed emptier than usual. He'd grown accustomed to her presence, the sound of her typing, her cheerful good mornings, the way she anticipated his needs before he voiced them. At 7, Jamie appeared in his doorway. Derek Walsh is waiting in conference room B. I brought him in through the side entrance. Nobody saw him, Good Blake said, standing. Let's handle this before the main event. Derek Walsh was 28, ambitious, and currently very pale. He sat rigidly in the conference room chair, sweating despite the air conditioning. Mr. Harrison, I can explain, he began. Blake held up a hand. Save it. I know you sent the messages. I know you took the photos. I know you thought you could blackmail me into giving you the promotion you didn't earn. Derek's face crumbled. I'm sorry. I was angry. I worked so hard, and then Thomas got the position I wanted, and I just thought, you thought you could extort your CEO? Blake's voice was ice. You thought threatening to damage my reputation and that of a colleague would somehow advance your career? I wasn't going to actually do anything with the photos, Derek said desperately. I just wanted to scare you into reconsidering you're fired, Blake said simply. Security will escort you out. You'll receive 2 weeks severance, which is more generous than you deserve. If you ever contact me, Penny Brooks, or anyone else at this company again, I'll pursue legal action for attempted blackmail. Do you understand? Derek nodded miserably. Jamie escorted him out, leaving Blake alone to prepare for the real battle. The HR tribunal at 8 o'clock sharp. Blake walked into the HR conference room. Rachel Kim was already there, along with two other senior HR staff members Blake recognized but didn't know well. Legal counsel sat in the corner. A woman named Jennifer Torres, who specialized in employment law. Penny arrived moments later, looking professional and terrified in a navy blue suit. Her hair was pulled back severely, her makeup minimal. She looked like she was dressed for a funeral. Their eyes met across the room. Blake wanted to go to her, to take her hand, to tell her everything would be okay. But he maintained his distance, aware of how every gesture would be scrutinized. "Please sit," Rachel said, her tone formal. "Let's begin." Blake and Penny sat on opposite sides of the conference table. The distance between them felt like miles. Rachel folded her hands. "We've received multiple reports about inappropriate behavior at Friday's gala. We've reviewed photos and videos circulating on social media and the company internal network. We need to understand exactly what happened and what your intentions are going forward." Before we begin, Jennifer Torres interjected, "I want to clarify that this is not a disciplinary hearing. It's an exploratory conversation to understand the situation and determine next steps that protect both the individuals involved and the company." Rachel nodded. "Mr. Harrison, would you like to start?" Blake straightened in his chair. "Penny and I attended the company gala Friday night. During the evening, we spent significant time together. We had conversations that went beyond our professional relationship. We both consumed alcohol. We left the venue together. I took her to my home. We spent the night together." His clinical recitation made it sound so cold, so transactional. Nothing like the warmth he felt remembering fragments of that night. "And you're admitting to a romantic and possibly sexual relationship with your direct report?" Rachel asked. "I'm admitting to having feelings for Penny that extend beyond professional respect," Blake said carefully. "I'm admitting that Friday night, those feelings were expressed and reciprocated. As for the specific physical nature of what occurred, neither Penny nor I have complete memory of the evening due to alcohol consumption." Rachel turned to Penny. "Ms. Brooks, do you agree with Mr. Harrison's assessment?" Penny's voice was steady despite her pale face. "Yes, I have had feelings for Blake, for Mr. Harrison, for some time. Friday night, I acted on those feelings. He did not coerce me. He did not manipulate me. If anything, he was respectful and careful even while intoxicated. What happened was mutual and consensual." Ms. Brooks, one of the other HR representatives, spoke up. "A man named Gregory Chen. You understand that as Mr. Harrison's direct report? There's an inherent power imbalance in any relationship between you. That even if you felt your consent was freely given, the dynamics of your working relationship complicate that consent." "I understand the theory," Penny said, "but I'm not a child. I'm a 28-year-old woman capable of making my own decisions. Blake has never used his position to pressure me into anything. Not professionally, not personally, until Friday night," Rachel said quietly. "No," Penny said firmly. "Not even then. We were two people who stopped hiding how we felt. Yes, he's my boss. Yes, that complicates things. But that doesn't erase my agency or my right to choose who I have feelings for." Blake felt a surge of pride. Even terrified, even facing potential career consequences. Penny was standing her ground. The impossible choice. Rachel pulled out a folder. "I've reviewed company policy on workplace relationships. We don't forbid them, but we have strict guidelines. When a relationship exists between a supervisor and subordinate, certain protocols must be followed to prevent conflicts of interest and protect against claims of favoritism or harassment." She slid papers across the table to both Blake and Penny. "These protocols include immediate disclosure to HR, reassignment of one party so there's no direct reporting relationship, regular check-ins with HR to ensure no retaliation or favoritism, and potential ethics training for both parties." Blake scanned the document. It was reasonable, actually. More reasonable than he'd expected. However, Rachel continued, and Blake's hopes sank. "There's a complication. Mr. Harrison, you're the CEO. Every employee in this company ultimately reports to you. Even if we reassign Ms. Brooks to another department, you still have ultimate authority over her employment, her compensation, her career trajectory. So you're saying there's no way for us to continue working here together? Blake said flatly. I'm saying it's complicated, Rachel replied. The optics are problematic. Other employees may perceive favoritism regardless of the reality. Ms. Brooks' achievements may be called into question. Your judgment as CEO may be scrutinized by the board. Penny spoke up, her voice small. What are our options? Jennifer Torres, the lawyer, responded. Realistically, you have 3 options. 1. Ms. Brooks transfers to a different department with a different supervisor, and you both agree to strict professional boundaries at work. Your relationship, if you choose to pursue one, remains completely separate from the workplace. Option 2. Blake asked, though he suspected he knew. Ms. Brooks resigns. The company provides a generous severance package and sterling references. She pursues opportunities elsewhere. You're both free to pursue a personal relationship without workplace complications. The room fell silent. And option 3. Penny whispered. Jennifer hesitated. Option 3 is unconventional. Mr. Harrison steps down as CEO or moves to a different role within the company, where he no longer has direct or indirect authority over Ms. Brooks. This removes the power dynamic. Concern. Blake's breath caught. Step down. Give up the position he'd fought for? Built toward? Sacrificed everything to achieve? Rachel looked uncomfortable. Ms. Torres, I don't think option 3 is realistic. Mr. Harrison founded this company. He is this company. Asking him to step down because of a personal relationship is exactly what we'd ask any other executive to consider. Jennifer interrupted. If this were the CFO and his assistant, would we hesitate to suggest reassignment? Why should the CEO be treated differently? Because the CEO can't be reassigned, Rachel argued. There's nowhere to reassign him to. Actually, Blake said slowly, there is. Everyone turned to him. I've been considering transitioning to a chairman role for the past year, Blake said. It wasn't exactly true, but it wasn't entirely false either. He'd had conversations with the board about long-term succession planning. I could promote Nathan Cross, my coup, to CEO. I'd remain chairman of the board, focusing on strategy and vision rather than day-to-day operations. It's a logical evolution for the company.